Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhari Yasodanandana Vrajana Ranjana Yasodanandana Vrajana Ranjana Yamunatira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhari Yasodanandana Vrajana Ranjana Yamunatira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhari Yasodanandana Vrajana Ranjana Yasodanandana Vrajana Ranjana Yamunatira Vanachari Yamunatira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Jayam Vishnupakaram Hamsa Prabhujakacharya Stotara Satta Shri Srimad His Divine Grace says Sri Bhaktivedanta Swami Maharaj Srila Prabhupada Ki Ananta Kori Vaishnava Vrindi Ki Srimad Bhagavatam Gantaraji Ki Oh glorious the assembled devotees Oh glorious the Sri Sri Guru and Gauranga Gaur Premananda Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. We are reading the Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 3, Chapter 12. Today's text is number 30. Chapter is entitled Creation of the Kumaras and Others. Naitat purvai kritam tvajye na karisyanti chapare yastvam duhitarangache anikriha gajam prabhu naitat purvai kritam tvajye na karisyanti chapare yastvam duhitarangache anigriyam gajam prabhu. Mataji. Na, never, etat, such a thing, purvai, by any other Brahma, or yourself in any previous kalpa, kritam, performed, tvat, by you, yea, that which, na, nor, karisyanti, will do, cha, also, apare, anyone else, ya, that which, tvam, you, duhitaram, unto your daughter, gache, would go, anikriya, without controlling, angajam, sex desire, prabhu, O Father. Translation, O Father, this performance in which you are endeavoring to complicate yourself was never attempted by any other Brahma, nor by anyone else, nor by you in previous kalpas, nor will anyone dare to attempt it in the future. You are the Supreme Being in the universe. So how is it that you want to have sex with your daughter and cannot control your desire? Purport by Srila Prabhupada. The post of Brahma is the supermost post in the universe, and it appears that there are many Brahmas, many universes besides the one in which we are situated. One who fills this post must be ideal in behavior, for Brahma sets the example for all living entities. Brahma, the living entity who is the most pious and spiritually elevated, is entrusted with a post next to that of the personality of Godhead. Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha Durgave Patimendasya Skalat Patekati Muhu Swakripa Yustu Danina Shantu Lambanam. So we are continuing on with Lord Brahma. There is a little bit of a what we may say a glitch in Lord Brahma's process of creation, that he has been sidetracked by his daughter. So we have a very, very poignant sloka that is being uttered by the sages, expressing their shock, dismay, surprise, astonishment at Lord Brahma's behavior. I must say that in purport previously, to yesterday's purport, Srila Prabhupada alludes to the fact that they know very well that even though their father committed a mistake, there must have been some great purpose behind the show. Otherwise, such a great personality could not have committed such a mistake. It might be that Brahma wanted to warn his subordinates about human frailties in their dealings with women. So I will elaborate a little bit on this line of thinking. First of all, we can analyze a little bit about what the sages are saying in the first couple of sentences, that Lord Brahma is rather outstanding in the fact that he is a creator, and never before has this type of behavior been exhibited by any living entity in the post of Lord Brahma. We have to understand that Lord Brahma is not infinite or eternal. Lord Brahma is just a post in the material world. So what they're saying is that so many Lord Brahmas have come. We haven't seen this in their behavior. In fact, nor you in this kalpa. So that's a very important statement to make, that the sages are talking about Lord Brahma's kalpa. So we know what a kalpa is, isn't it? Kalpa is a day, right? Day of Lord Brahma. So a day of Lord Brahma is the 4 cycles of yugas, which is 4,322,000 years. Thank you very much. And we're in Kali Yuga, which is 400. It's only the small part of it, 1/10 of it, 432,000 years, and we all know we have 427,000 years to go. So do we want 427,000 years of repeated birth, death, and Kali Yuga? No, thank you very much. So we'd better sort of pay attention to our sadhana. So therefore, that is one cycle, and 1,000 of these cycles, 1,000 of these cycles is a day of Lord Brahma. So that day of Lord Brahma is a kalpa, right? So they have seen that speaking, and Lord Brahma lives 360 days in a year, and Lord Brahma lives 100 years, and there's 360 kalpas in 1 year. So very, very many very many kalpas Lord Brahma has been through. In this particular Lord Brahma said that he's halfway there, right? 50 years, right? So the sages are saying in all these kalpas that you've lived before, this has not happened. So they've conceptualized Lord Brahma's past. So Lord Brahma, of course, is this fantastic post which is creating the universe, and our concept of Lord Brahma is can be very, very limited. We conceptualize what happens in this world. So in this particular world we live in, we have leaders, and we have so much strife amongst the leaders, and we can never actually even see that someone can be emperor of the world or even emperor of the universe. So one time in Melbourne, when Srila Prabhupada was giving Srimad Bhagavatam class in 1974, he was talking about Maharaj Pariksit, who was the emperor of the universe, and he was speaking about how he gave up his post as emperor, or emperor of, he was emperor of the whole world, not emperor of the universe, sorry. So Srila Prabhupada was speaking about that, and he asked for questions, and somebody raised the question. He said, how can someone be emperor of the whole world? Remember that? It's just hard to conceptualize that someone could actually, particularly 5,000 years ago when they only had horses and chariots, how can someone be emperor of the whole world? Of course, Maharaj Pariksit was. So Prabhupada said, this is your knowledge, that you can only conceptualize so much with your brain, your earthly brain, that there is actually we can only see so much with our eyes, but actually we have to look through the eyes of the Shastra, and we have to see what is there in the Shastra. And actually, if we understand and we accept the Shastra, we can see that there is so much more, that even beyond our planet is the heavenly planets, and they're hundreds of times greater than the facilities there, 100 times greater than what we have here. What to speak of the planet of Lord Brahma, 100 times again. So there is Lord Brahma, there is his lifespan, there is his planet up there at the top of the universe, and we can only hear about and read about it. It's very hard for us to conceptualize what it is like there on the planet of Lord Brahma. And then, of course, Lord Brahma's planet is only fraction of the joys and pleasures that are available in the spiritual world to the living entity. So, which is far, the opulence of Lord Brahma is just compared to being like the drop of water in a hoof print of the calf. But the planet of Lord Brahma is the topmost planet in this universe. So Srila Prabhupada explains that to attain the post of Lord Brahma, one can become a perfect grihasta and follow the injunctions of a grihasta for 100 lifetimes, and he can attain that exalted post of Lord Brahma. So that is a very, very strong, not stray from any deviate from anything from the Shastric injunctions for 100 births. So when we visualize this, we can understand that Lord Brahma is very, very controlled soul. It's a very exalted post. So when Lord Brahma actually strayed from the Vedic injunctions and pursuance of his daughter, then there was concern from the sages. Say, no one before or after will do such a thing. So as I was saying, why is this happening? So Srila Prabhupada says that there's a greater purpose behind such a show. So Srila Prabhupada refers to the Bhagavad Gita, to the living entity's attraction for sex as being the greatest shackle in this material world, binding us all to this world of repeated birth and death. So this goes all the way up to the planet of Lord Brahma. In Bhagavad Gita, it is stated Brahma Bhuvana Loka Punaravitano Juna Mamupetya Puntaya Puna Janmana Vidyate. So from the highest planet of Lord Brahma down to the lowest, all the places of misery where repeated birth and death take place. But one who attains my abode never has to take repeated birth and death again in this material world. So in the purport, Srila Prabhupada, for that particular verse, Srila Prabhupada explains that as persons on earth are elevated to the higher planets, planet King Indra, the moon planet, and Brahmaloka, simultaneously those living entities in the planet of Brahmaloka and all the other planets are coming back down to the earth planet because their pious activities run out. So, as I mentioned, about 100, Prabhupada mentioned about 100 births of the perfect Grihastha. He also mentions in the purport there that in the Katha Upanishad, through the process of Pancha Ginavidya, one can attain to Lord Brahma's abode. But if in Brahmaloka one does not accept Krishna consciousness, then he must return. Then he goes up and down. So we understand, Srila Prabhupada explains the purport also that Lord Brahma and his devotees are constantly engaged in the service to Krishna, and at the end of their life they're transferred to the spiritual universe, to the specific spiritual planets according to their desires. Of course, we know that Lord Brahma is a great devotee of Krishna and he has seen Goloka Vrindavan, so his destination is Goloka Vrindavan. But here in the material world, he is the Adhikavya, he's the creator, and he's also in charge of the mode of passion. So, being in the material world is further stated in the Bhagavad Gita, Ichidvesa Samutina Dvandva Mohana Bharata Sarva Bhutani Samoham Sargiyanti Paradapa, that all living entities in this material world are born into delusion, overcome by the dualities. Ichya Dvesa, dualities of desire and hate. So our constitution, Prabhupada explains once again, our constitutional position is that of subordinates to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. But when we become separated from this consciousness, and then we take birth in the material world, we become controlled by the illusory energy, and we are subject to the modes. So Ichidvesa Samutna. So everybody is born into this material world with the delusion of dualities. So desire and hate. So I was brought up as a Christian, so in Christianity the philosophy is more or less the same. So a lot of us have had Christian backgrounds here from the West, so we learn that we're all born with the stain of the original sin. You're familiar with that? Right? We're stained with the original sin since we're born. So I was thinking about that, and the fact that we're born with a stain or black mark on the soul leads to confusion, that there is a misunderstanding that somewhere along the line there's been a misidentification between body and soul. So that is the fault of Christianity, that they've misidentified that with our body. So here in the material world, of course, we identify with ourselves as being with the body, and we identify with the material energy, and we're brought under control of material energy in the form of the mode of goodness, passion and ignorance. And then we think we're this body, and we're not material, and we think we're this material bodies, not spirit souls. So therefore, that philosophy, born with the original sin, translates into material desires, which fructify into papam, or sinful activities, and so the sins come, right? The sinful reactions come. But ultimately, the soul is a pure spiritual force, which is the real self. So that is the difficulty in Christianity. So in Christmas, at Christmas time, I noticed that the church was full at 6 o'clock on Christmas Eve, which was some nice to see, actually, as we went through Mawulumba. Cars were all around the place. So they were celebrating Christmas, and that was the birth of the Saviour of the world, Jesus. So, Saviour. So for us, Saviour means one who saves us from the delusion of thinking that we're these bodies, and not spirit souls, part and parcel of supreme, and someone who leads us on a path out of this concept or this trap that we're in, and gives us the process to go back to our original place, our original abode. So that is the meaning for us of Saviour, not someone who can just actually save us just for the fact that we know that He's God, but we don't do anything about it, that we just save automatically. No, we have to work at it, that we have to actually understand what is our nature, what is body, what is soul, and engage in that process to actually achieve enlightenment. So in the Bhagavad Gita, further in Bhagavad Gita, Krishna explains to Arjuna that Kama Esha Krodha Esha Rajaguna Sabudhavan Mahasano Mahapapma Vidi Enam Hivarinam. O Arjuna, it is lust only, which is born of contact with mode of passion, which is all devouring enemy. Actually, I just want to mention as a sidetrack there, I was reading the 1972 Macmillan Bhagavad Gita, and in that particular sloka, it says, the Blessed Lord said. Right? So I was just thinking, well, that's a very Christian saying, isn't it? Blessed Lord. And I was thinking, what does it mean? I know, maybe you might have some clear idea. I said, what's Blessed Lord mean? So that actually came about. It wasn't really Srila Prabhupada's intention that it was going to be said, Blessed Lord, because it's actually the Supreme Personality of Godhead. It's more definitive. Just like if you give a title to the King Charles III, King of England, so it's the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So Prabhupada it said that was vague. So subsequently it's been changed to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So Arjuna, it is lust only which is born of contact with the mode of passion, which is all devouring enemy. So Lord Brahma seemingly was afflicted by this lust. So contemplation is a factor. So Lord Brahma being in charge of Rajagun, we just read in the couple of purports before that he was immersed in the act of creation. So from his face and from the front of his body and other parts, he manifested all these great sages, Narada, Vasista, Pulasta, Angira, Atri, Marichi. They were all born from the front. But then from within his heart and his eyebrows and his lips, lust, anger, and greed manifested. And then from his heinous, low, and abominable activities, which was the source of all sins. So these came about from Lord Brahma as well. So Lord Brahma being in charge of the mode of guna, could it be that he briefly succumbed to the influence of the modes which were coming from him. Like in Bhagavad Gita it states 13:22, Purusha Prakritisto hi bhukti prakriti yangunan karanam gunasango sha sadasa joni janmasu. But the living entity in this material world first follows the ways of life, enjoying the three modes of material nature due to his sangha, association with the three modes, goodness, passion and ignorance. But in that association he meets with good and evil in every species. So Raja, Sattva and the Guna, they're the modes that bind us, bind all the living entities. We can compare them to some of the weeds that we have on New Govardhana, that if you go into the bush and you try to clear some bracken or some so a little plot where you can plant flowers and vegetables, and you're wrestling with the weeds, you'll find that these weeds will stick to you like anything. The farmer's friends, the lantana, so many weeds, and you're trying to fight the weeds off yourself. So this is like the modes of material nature, very easy to fall under the influence because they're so strong that this bind one to the material world just like we're bound up in a prison. And the fact is that we don't even know, in the material world people don't even realize that they're imprisoned by the three modes and act like puppets under the three modes. It's like we have that picture in the Bhagavad Gita, we have the puppeteer and we have the three modes there. Material Durga's the puppeteer. So so unless one is strong and firmly situated in bhakti, then we can actually succumb to the modes of material nature very easily. So we have to actually, Lord Brahma is one example. We have to understand the potency of material energy. So Lord Brahma is situated in pure goodness, virtually pure goodness, and everybody who goes to Satyaloka is situated in pure goodness. So the modes are hardly visible there. So it is understood that practically those people have a perfect opportunity to engage in their sadhana, become great bhaktas and go back to the spiritual world. So it's a bit like here on this planet. If we go to the holy dhams, that's why it is important that we visit the holy dhams, Vrindavan, particularly Vrindavan, Mayapur, that we'll find that there is an absence of the modes. It's actually very, very visible that all of a sudden it's much easier to focus on your bhakti there, go to all the holy places associating with devotees, and the passion and the ignorance just seems to not be there. Even, so that, and then when you come back to the West, you come back to this farm and you can actually come back to New Govardhana, and we can see that actually association devotees continues on, even though the devotees, every time I see someone come from Mayapur, Vrindavan, I feel the surge of spirituality that they bring with them. But still here on New Govardhana is a particular feature that when we cross the bridge, that there is an absence of raja and tama, the absence of passion and ignorance to a certain degree, and that's what a lot of our guests feel, that there's some upliftment there. They don't know actually what it is, but it is actually the absence of the modes. And then the more one is freed up from the modes, the more joyful one can become. Actually, karmically, the rest of the material world thinks the opposite, that you actually engage in fruitive activities and intoxication, gambling, whatever, and you'll be more happy, particularly around Christmas time. But that's the illusion that after Boxing Day, everybody who's sort of had a family reunion usually hate each other and can't wait to get away until they do it next year, repeated. So Lord Brahma, being situated in the mode of goodness, that maybe it could be said that Srila Prabhupada alludes to this, that through the association with his position in the mode of passion, that he is being in control of the mode of passion, not being under the influence of the mode of passion, but slightly there may have been a trace. So he, after receiving the advice or admonishments from the great sages, he shed his passion straight away, getting rid of that body and turning it into thick fog. So, nevertheless, the point being here that Lord Brahma, he is a living entity, and as such living entities, human beings, we are all subject to 4 defects that has been there, so we cannot become God. We are defective. Sorry, we cannot be one with the law. We can never be perfect because we suffer the 4 defects that we have: a cheating propensity, we are subject to illusion, imperfect senses, and we make mistakes. 4 things: imperfect senses, that we make mistakes, cheating propensity, and illusion. So all this is going on. So we can't help it sometimes that we're all subject to these at different points in time. Imperfect senses, that they take us here or there and making mistakes. That always happens. So Lord Brahma, we can see through the Shastras that he suffered from these also. He had the illusion of being very proud of his position. Who doesn't become proud of a great position? So Lord Brahma is the creator, is the Adhikavaya. So he came to see Lord Krishna, and Lord Krishna, of course, knows everything. So he saw a little bit of pride there in Lord Brahma. So when Lord Brahma came to Dwarka and knocked on the palace door of Krishna, Krishna told his attendants to say, "Which Lord Brahma is this? What Lord Brahma are we talking about?" Of course, Lord Brahma was rather surprised. He said, "Lord Brahma with 4 heads, of course. Who else would it be?" So then he came in and he asked Krishna, "Oh, by the way, Krishna, you asked which Lord Brahma, what is meant by that?" Just like the sages are saying, "No other Lord Brahma before you, or will it, will anyone, let's just say you're endeavoring to never attempted by any other Brahma," right? So does that mean the one's Brahma before him, or Brahmas in other universes? So he's a little bit bewildered. So Krishna manifested, he summoned all the Brahmas from different universes, and they came into these chambers. There was Lord Brahmas with 100 heads, 1,000 heads, it said 1,000,000 heads, and they all simultaneously bowed before Krishna. And so there's this great clunk of helmets, this deafening sound of helmets hitting the floor, and Lord Brahma was just astonished. It actually made him realize that he was he was a small Lord Brahma. He only had 4 heads, so it made him feel really, really humble. So then, of course, Lord Brahma exhibited the mistake. He made a mistake that he wasn't sure whether Krishna was the Supreme Personality of Godhead, not this little boy playing in Vrindavan. So he stole his boys, stole Krishna's friends, and he stole the calves. And then later on, when he came back, few seconds later, he saw that those boys and calves were all there. And then he went back and he saw that he put the calves, they were still there, the boys were still asleep in the cave. They come back, they were all 4-armed forms of the Supreme Personality of Godhead in his Vasudeva form. So he was very, very remorseful that he played a trick on Krishna. So as such, so he's a jiva, and he's obviously very, very qualified, and Krishna's given him the mercy in so many different ways. Actually, he came as Haridas Thakur in the form of Haridas Thakur, very, very humble, and Lord Chaitanya just gave him complete mercy. So Lord Brahma is a great soul, and it's as the post. It's said that actually, if someone's not qualified to be Lord Brahma, then Lord Krishna takes up the post himself. So, as we said previously, that if one takes to bhakti in the mood of unmotivated, unalloyed, and an interrupted devotional service, he can be freed from the modes of material nature. So, all in all, because Lord Brahma is a great devotee, Lord Krishna then showed him Vrindavan, and he glorified Vrindavan, and we have those beautiful prayers in the Brahma Samhita, which we sing every morning, and they're just amazing prayers. Srila Prabhupada once said that we should recite the Brahma Samhita every day. So, bhakti service, so this bhakti, and actually just have to mention that Lord Brahma is at the beginning of our disciplic succession, where the Brahma Gaudiya Madhva Brahma Madhva Gaudiya Sampradaya. So Lord Brahma is the founding father. So bhakti, service to Krishna, it actually gives us the joy of knowing Krishna, but it protects us from being entangled in material energy with all its dualities and its desires. So I just want to finish with a quote from Jiva Goswami in his Gopi Paradhana. He writes that devotional service can be compared to a mango. First you have the green mango, and what do you get from a green mango? Pickles. Yes, you get pickles and green mango chutney. So, and maybe in a drink, but that's all, you know. So that is compared to our sadhana, that first the mango is green and then it develops, right? So our sadhana is a bit like that, that we're limited, but we perform our sadhana with diligence, and then we may not be experiencing this bliss of bhakti and love of Godhead, but just as the mango ripens and becomes sweet, we get so much pleasure from the mango. Then we get sweet rice, we get mango sweet rice, we get mango lassi, we get mango fruit salad, mango ice cream. Oh yes, of course, you know. So that is the sort of exhibition of the various stages of love of Godhead, which leads us to Prema Bhakti. So first of all, the green mango is there, so the performance of devotional service. So now, it being Christmas and New Year, is a good time to reassess, or as we do in the yoga hall, before we start our yoga practice, we set our intentions for the practice, and then we reassess our intentions at the end of the yoga, just to reaffirm what we want to achieve. So similarly, it's a good time for us to immerse ourselves in bhakti and just make that, set our intentions that we become more determined in following the process for the year to follow. Thank you for your attention. Are there any questions or comments? Yes. Is that the question? Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. I think you answered your own question. Is it right? Yeah. Well done. Yeah. I know. I don't know what I'll just take this cover. We'll just sort of get back. Yeah.
The question I had was what you kind of just touched on. I didn't know whether in Shastra it spoke of what was just spoken of. And it was what I was wondering was just like the modes of nature, because we're so small, we can't handle these energies, and we try to handle them and we just distort them. So I was just wondering if this was another example of our distortion of one of Krishna's energies, because we can't handle it. He's transcendental.
Handling the energies, the material energies, yeah. Look, because we've been in this material world for so many thousands and thousands of births, that we've been actually conditioned so much, and sometimes we take our conditioning with us into this life. Of course we are a product of what we desired in our last life, but then we take some afflictions that we had, some things that weren't completed, or some material real pain that we experienced or whatever, and that carries on. And all of this carries on. They're like hurdles, obstacles in our spiritual life, that we still have so many desires, and these fructify at different points in time. Just like when we're born, it said the baby's pure and everything, but then you look at the babies when they're 1 or 2 years old, they just start fighting over toys and they won't share, and where's this coming from? Right? And then as they get older, then they sort of become nasty, and sort of spiteful toward each other. Not everyone, but in general, they have to go through this process where they have to learn that they're not the center of the universe, that they have to share. So there's a learning process. That's the first stage, and then the desires keep coming. Then we become a teenager. It's like there's no, you sort of get a fresh set of desires. I must admit, in truth, when I was a brahmachari, for the first 3 years, I was just free of any sex desire, anything. I was just happy to continue in my Krishna consciousness. Everything was good, and then 3 years later, it seemed like there was a sort of rock hanging over my head, and it's all like, where's all this coming from? So this happens in different stages of our life, that we have different desires that are waiting for us, and it's said that as we perform our devotional service, then it's just like we pull the plug out of the fan, right? That the fan is like all the material desires going around, and when we pull the plug by the process of sadhana bhakti, that slowly these desires start to fade away. Or if they do come, we can just sort of channel them on, like the mind is coming at us with so many thoughts every second, right? So we can just sort of just keep it going, and only accept what is favourable for Krishna consciousness and reject what is unfavourable. So this is the process, so we don't know what we were in our last life, what hang-ups or whatever, but what I do know is that we come to an obstacle in our Krishna consciousness, in our relationships, or in our personal application, or our enthusiasm, whatever. It's just a hurdle if we have to overcome, because we might have hit that hurdle in our last life, which is the obstacle, getting on with other people, whatever. That's like the obstacle that we had in our last life, and we hit that obstacle and we weren't able to surpass it, and here we are again. We come to the same obstacle. That's how it actually works. It's quite interesting. I've got 2 minutes, so I just want to finish with a little story here. That when I joined in Amsterdam in 1975, it was a very beautiful period. I was shaved up within 2 days, wearing a dhoti, and I was very enthusiastic about everything. I was so enthusiastic that when the BBT came, about a week later, I felt the sort of energy that these book distributors had. I sort of identified with that energy, and then lo and behold, the next day, he said, "Oh, you're going to Belgium with the BBT." Of course, only being 3 weeks in Krishna consciousness, I sort of made an arrangement anyway that I'd have a ticket out, so in case I got brainwashed or something like that, go back to Australia. So this was my safety barrier. So I'm sorry, I go back to Australia. I really did not have the desire to become a book distributor at that point in time for Krishna. But then when I joined again in Melbourne, 6 weeks later, I was on the street. We used to do a chanting program. We chant for an hour in Collins Street. There was to be me, Lagudi, and Dusta Mohan. We'd be going chanting, the three of us, sometimes Narayan with his guitar. And then we distribute books for an hour. So one day I sold a Krishna book. So lo and behold, that night, Mother Visa comes up to me and says, "You've joined BBT, you're going to Cairns tomorrow." So after 6 weeks, I was on BBT anyway. So actually, in all truth, I just delayed what was inevitable. If I had gone to Belgium and been a book distributor, it would save so much time of wallowing around the material world. I should have done it there and then. No. So this is how it is sometimes, that we see these obstacles, and then these obstacles keep coming then there again and again. So just take the bull by the horns and just sort of whatever it takes, we get through it to get onto our next platform of Krishna consciousness. Yeah, sadhu sangha. So good. The more we can do that, the better it is for everybody. As a community, we have to grow in all these directions, which is very nice. Thank you very much for your attention. Questions, Jai? Oh, glory to Srila Prabhupada.